We are here assembled for on a webinar on GST refunds, which is on issues, challenges, and controversies. So I'm Komal, manager at Vakilsearch, handling accounting and integrated accounting and taxation. I have an experience in Big Four and a corporate organization handling direct taxation matters. I've had advisory in direct taxation as well as litigation and then compliances activities. With me, there is two great stalwarts with us. One first, Prasanna, who's a senior manager in direct taxation. Hi, Prasanna.
Hi, Komal.
Prasanna is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants, and he has 8 years of experience in the compliance profession. He's completed the certificate course on indirect taxes, and he's leading the GST division. He's written many articles for GST monthly newsletter published by Incorp Advisors. He has contributed significantly to the preliminary studies of GST and is equipped with the necessary knowledge for the successful implementation of the same. So welcome, Prasanna. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you, Komal.
Yeah. Then next we have CA Meet Thakur, who's a senior manager in taxation in Incorp Advisory. He has 10 years of experience in the field of direct taxation and indirect taxation. He has expertise in corporate and non-corporate tax compliances, transaction advisory services, international taxation, indirect tax laws like GST, VAT, service tax, PT, and transfer pricing matters. He has handled complex search and seizure matters under income tax, apart from representation at various appellate authorities. He's a frequent content contributor for article and blog at tax forums such as Tax Sutra. So welcome, Meet.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we just kickstart with all the technical rounds and just to get into the all intricacies of GST refunds, I'd like to just start off with to know what exactly do we mean with GST refunds. So we all know that in this era of digitalizations and everywhere we've had compliance activities going on, startups and companies now have this entire liability of falling into this indirect taxation, which is the biggest word right now in everywhere, is the GST. So, everything being online and everything where we are facing a lot of this transformational activities in business and everything. So GST refunds, we pay taxes. What exactly we are going to focus here is to know what is the process of getting into this GST, which we pay during our business, activities, how we can go for a refund, and what exactly is the process, and to just get expertise also from this, from all of us, from the two people we have here with us. So just to start off with this, so first thing we'll start off exactly to understand what are the different types of GST, which refunds, which we can go for. Yeah. So is it like applicable for all the transactions or for all the payments which we make for GST, or is it somewhere in the somewhere in the statute mentioned that no, this is the only transactions which we can go for a GST refund? So could you put in your inputs, Prasanna, on this?
Yes, Komal.
Yeah.
The GST refund is a benefit or some incentives kind of thing given by statute. It is not applicable for all actually. So refund, there is a eligibility criteria prescribed under the statute, and you should fall in that eligibility criteria, then only you can claim the refund. So there are few cases where they specifically mention, and one general class is given actually, any other kind of a thing. Mainly on exports. Exports are two types, with payment of tax and without payment of tax. If you're exporting with payment of tax, you will get back the tax paid on export. Without payment of tax, you will get the ITC of whatever you have paid on purchases. And there is one more concept is called inverted duty structure. So if your outward supply is rate is higher than your inward supply rate, then that is falling under inverted duty structure. So in that case also you can go for refund. And if any cash ledger balance available, and if you are now sure that you are not going to utilize that cash balance in your ledger, you can go for refund. And if there is any excess payment of tax, excess means where supply has not happened, but you have paid tax. Example is like you have paid on receipt, advance received, and supply is not happening, you are canceling the contract. In that case also you can go for refund. So these are the main situations where you will fall under the eligibility criteria. So, and for each kind of refund category, so there are different guidelines given to claim the refund, and different set of documents, timeline, everything is prescribed. So these are the main things. So mate, if you want to add.
I think you have covered everything. So mostly GST refund is on the amount of taxes that we have paid, basically, to summarize what the person has said. But mostly available for exporters, and any other categories includes mistake made payments or inverted duty payments. Very critical one is the inverted duty payments.
Yes. Yeah. The export means not only export, even SEZ supplies also covers.
Deemed exports.
Yes, deemed export and SEZ supplies.
So does that also mean that if my turnover is exempted, will I be also be able to get a refund on the taxes which I paid to my supplier?
No, in this case, if your turnover is exempted, actually your input tax credit itself will become ineligible, restricted actually. So you cannot take input tax credit also, and there is no question of tax paying on turnover. So you will not be falling under any eligibility criteria. So refund will not be available in this case.
Okay. Okay. So thank you, Meet and Prasanna, for giving us, on insight on how GST eligibility, refund eligibility we have. Just for everyone, if you have any questions, we can actually mention in the chat box and we can address them as well. We'll go for the next thing. There is so much, you just mentioned about exports and, with payment duty and without payment duty. And would you like to add on that explicitly anything on this and how that GST works on those kind of transactions? Prasanna or Meet, anyone?
See, export with payment is actually on filing a shipping bill itself will become your refund application, and based on that, refund process starts actually. In this case, actually, for payment of tax on export, if you are opting for with payment, you can utilize your credit and you can pay taxes. And whatever tax you are paying, that will come back as a refund actually. That shipping bill itself will be working as a refund application, but you have to file your GSTR 1 and 3B in this case actually. If you file GSTR 1 and 3B, and if your shipping bill details and invoice details are matching with your ISGate portal and your GSTR 1, so then only your refund will be processed. Otherwise, you will not be getting refund actually.
Okay. All right.
Just to add, this is the fastest mode of getting a refund. You don't have to go to department. Online within 15 working days. The customs ISGate website will be initiating the refund to you after filing of GSTR 1 and 3.
Okay. So in the zero rated turnover, which is basically the exports, which we normally mention that in technically that exports and exports to and the supplies to SEZs are mentioned as zero rated turnover in the GST. I'd like to add on this, there is a separate GST mechanism which works. It's not that normal refund which we take it. So there's a calculation, there's a lot of refund amount which gets you get eligible for that amount only. It's not that amount of taxes which you normally pay for your input and input services and you just get the refund there. So in that way, would you want to add something on it?
Sorry, I lost you in between.
So the GST which on the exports, on the exports which we have. So there's a calculation mechanism is what I understand, right?
Okay,
Which is very trivial. And I mean, might look trivial, but it is a very important thing there. So would you like to add something on that?
Yeah. So when you apply for your GST refund on the portal, there is a basic formula. There are basic numbers that you have to input while you are applying for a specific period. Yeah. So the amount of turnover that you have exported divided by the total turnover into the total credits which are eligible for refund. For different types of refund, different eligibility of ITC or your credits are specified. For example, let's take export as the criteria. So your export turnover divided by your total turnover, which is exempted, total, taxable turnover, and your export turnover all combined, aggregated. into and multiplied by the ITC that were accumulated during the period. The said period of refund can be monthly, quarterly, or maybe annually as well. So this is the eligible refund amount based on your two-way matching, based on the credits which are available to you, which are eligible to you, the officer will issue the refund to you.
Okay.
So yes, this is the bit.
This is oh, thank you.
Just adding 2 minutes. See that input tax credit again for each line item there is a separate calculation is given.
Absolutely.
So input tax credit in that actually you have to capital gains if you have taken any input credit on the capital goods purchases that should not be considered in that refund calculation. So inputs and inputs there is only these two related transactions should be considered. And for value also there is a clear guidance in the circular. So in case of goods, FOB value or invoice value, whichever is lower will be considered for refund calculation. Okay. And adjusted total turnover will be total turnover of that period.
All right. Someone from the audience has asked one question: how much time does it take to get the GST refund?
Export is actually 2 months, but in some cases,
does that actually happen in 2 months? Is what my next question was.
In some cases it goes beyond 2 months, and in some cases it is coming exactly in 2 months. Actually, again, it depends on the data how we present and depending on the officer in what aspect he will verify the transactions. Sometime in our experience also we got refund after 3 months, 4 months, like that also it is there.
Okay. All right. So
just want to add one point here. The one which comes from customs will be much faster, as I told you earlier. 15 working days is the time limit that the customs people have been seen complied with. They have been very practical and very fast in providing the refunds. But apart from that, when you go to a jurisdictional assessing officer, it takes upon their capabilities, the documents, the time that they take to process the same. So
yeah, okay. So Krishna M had posted this question. Krishna, this is what normally 60 days has been mentioned, but it obviously differs from case to cases. And there's another question from Gaurav. If the turnover exceeded, however, what if we have startup or MSME certificate? In that case, will the exemption be applicable? Yeah. So Prasanna,
no.
Yeah.
In this case, see whether it is startup or old company, see the eligibility criteria is very clear actually. If your turnover is exempted on any grounds, so that refund you will not be eligible for refund. Okay. That is very clear on that. Okay. Wait, do you have any different view?
On this?
No, I concur with your view on this. There is no exemption available over and above the basic criteria of turnover which has been provided by the statutes, 10 lakhs and 20 lakhs respectively, depending upon your states.
Yeah. We'll move on to the next thing, which we if I am an exporter and if I pay taxes to all my inward supplies, which is also including capital expenditure, will I be eligible to claim the refund of the full ITC? I suppose Prasanna have already answered this question. That yes. Capital expenditure, capital goods, ITC is not available. So whether you are, use exports with or without, paying taxes, you still are not eligible to claim that capital expenditure. Then I think there's another question from Darshan Kumar saying currently we are claiming refund of ITC for SEZ supply without payment of tax under LUT. But we still have ITC left over for which refund could not be claimed. Can we make supplies to SEZ with the payment of tax, utilize the ITC in credit ledger, and claim refund of such payment? Is there any restriction on business to supply with payment of tax as per Section 16(4) IGST Act Amendment? So, Meet, would you like to take up this?
I think yes, you can go for the option where SEZ supplies can be made with payment of taxes. That has to be there on the bill of supply which is being endorsed to the SEZ, and you can apply for the whole amount of the tax include after using the credit. It's allowed under the act, and practically it takes a bit of the time because some officers will ask you whether SEZ has not claimed this as an ITC, or they will ask you to provide a declaration from the SEZ units, which will take up certain time. But yes, the payout is possible practically.
All right. So I think that's the. Do you have anything else to answer, Prasanna, on this?
What meat is covered completely, so there is no restriction to go for both options.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Then we'll go to the largest chunk of everyone which was waiting for is in the GST refund application. I understand everything is becoming electronic now. That's what I suppose. So what are the documents which we need to submit for the refund application? I understand that we have many cases where refund is is applied for, and all the different types of refund cases have different statements which goes with it. So so we can do one thing. You can take something and then we can go with the other one. Prasanna is going
Yeah,
to.
so I think I can answer this question broadly. Yeah. Most of the important documents which include or which are found as deficiency in your refund application will be the declaration, the undertaking, the statement which the law statute provides under various rule number 89, and some declaration under section 54. So majorly missing documents are this. Apart from that, depending upon your refund application, your documentation requirement will change. You have to refer circular number 125/144/2019, which has been issued by the department. The document covers each and every document which has to be mandatorily attached to your GST refund application. Most of the common documents that which everybody will require is your two-way reconciliation, invoice wise, bill wise, party wise, two-way reconciliation, your statement of invoices for which you are claiming refund, the sales side, the purchase side, your self-certified invoices if they don't reflect in your 2A 2B, your BRC FIRC copies in case of realization of foreign currency, and the declaration, undertaking, and statements which are provided under the said rules and laws.
Okay, thank you. Prasanna, would you like to?
Yeah, see, documentation for each case, there will be some variation. One or two documents will be varying for each case as well. So most of the things what Meet has covered is completely related for export and is covered actually. But in case of deemed export, there will be some jurisdiction confirmation letter will be required. Deemed export for 3-4 categories are falling under deemed export. In that case, actually, both the supplier and recipient should intimate to the jurisdiction office that confirmation should be attached along with the refund application. So like that, it changes actually. If there is any specific situation, we can tackle.
Yeah. Oh. And so there's one question which I think we'll take up, with we had a thing which will speak up about it, saying the timeline for claiming refund, because as I know that law states that you can go for a refund application within 2 years of the relevant date. So this 2 years from which date can we start having this application being done? So will Prasanna, anybody would like to take this up?
Yes. 2 years is starting from, in case of goods export, the date start from that conveyance leaves India. Example, if it is ship or air. So if the aircraft and ship, when it leaves India after loading that particular goods, that is the date actually. From that date, 2 years we have to calculate. In case of service export actually, so the date of realization in convertible foreign currency. So from that date, it start actually 2 years. So in inverted case actually, so from the date of return filing due date, 2 years from the date of filing for that particular period. In case of inverted case, so like that different cases are there. So and if you cash ledger balance, if you are claiming, there is no time limit actually for that. In all other cases, 2 years from the date of payment.
Prasanna, what is your view on the Bombay High Court judgment, which has been announced recently?
See, Bombay High Court judgment gave favorable verdict to the assessee, but there the case is different. The case, what judgment point is, the first two application, twice they had filed correctly and department has issued deficiency memo. That two applications was within the time limit. Third application was after the time period. So for that, they have rejected the refund application, saying it is time barred. So in that case, actually, Bombay High Court gave favorable wording considering the Supreme Court judgment of related to the
extension of time limit.
So that case will not be applicable for all the cases, in my opinion. So we have to see. And there's one more Madras High Court judgment also, but there it is not the clear order. They have just referred back to the Assistant Commission.
So basically, if anybody has missed it due to COVID scenarios, maybe we can use that Bombay High Court judgment, but there has to be an effort seen for filing of this GST refund application. Yes. That is the crux of the judgment which Bombay High Court has relied upon.
Correct. And one more thing is actually, even when this pandemic started, department itself had given extension actually. So they had given till August 2020 for the period ending on 31st March 2020. So still, if
so moto 5 months were given. So
yes.
Moto, yes.
Okay, thank you both. There's a question from Jose Malaikal. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it properly. How far back can we apply GST refund for? So I think that
is answered by the timeline.
Yeah, that's right. Hari Krishnan has also asked, should LUT be renewed effective Jan 1st every year, or is it renewed every 12 months?
So LUT should be renewed every financial year wise. It starts from April and it ends in March. So in March month, you get an option to apply for the next year's LUT. And this whole process is online as of date. As per the law, it had to be approved by the judicial officer, but your ARN of application for LUT is sufficient enough for you to supply the goods without payment of taxes or services.
Okay, thank you. Darshan Kumar has also asked one question saying, for the refund of services, the zero rated turnover includes the advances received. But where do we disclose the advance in GSTI 1 for zero rated supply without payment of tax? Should we state the GST amount or not, though it's without payment of GST?
No. There is one small change in this actually. So that zero rated turnover for refund purpose does not include advance actually. It says advance received where supply has completed. So even if you have received advance but supply has not completed, you are not eligible to claim refund on that particular transaction. After completing supply and after issuing invoice only, you can go for the refund. That is the formula prescribed actually. So you cannot go for refund based on the advance receipt.
Yes. I hope Darshan, that answers your question. We'll go up to the next, what we wanted to discuss. One thing about deemed exports. We have deemed exports is also, we can claim GST refunds on such transactions as well. So will you, Prasanna, would you take up this answer?
Yeah. Deemed exports is, there are 3-4 categories are prescribed under as a deemed export. One is if you are supplying against advance authorization, EPCG license, or giving it to EOU. In this case, actually refund is allowed for both. Either supplier can claim. If supplier is not claiming, then supplier can charge and recipient can claim the refund. So both option is available to both the parties, but requirement is actually if supplier is claiming, the recipient should not claim and he has to give declaration saying that he is not going to claim refund on that category. And if supplier is claiming, supplier is not claiming, recipient is claiming, supplier has to give the same undertaking actually, saying that he is not claiming the refund. And in addition to this, as I told that they have to submit statement, invoice statement, and jurisdictional confirmation letter from the both the side, recipient jurisdiction office letter from the that office, and recipient also should submit the same thing actually, because this deemed export should be intimated in advance to the jurisdiction office. So that documents has to be given along with the refund application.
Okay, okay. Thank you, Prasanna, for this. There's another question. Kaushik Naskar has asked us, can you please tell me, is GST return for MSME company compulsory? So, Meet, would you like to take up this?
There is no exemption based on MSME or startup for anybody. Returns have to be filed periodically based on your turnovers. Monthly or quarterly is an option provided to you as per the law. There is no exemption. 1 and 3B has to be filed.
Yeah, so Kaushik, this is also answered. I mean, none of your status of the company can actually stop you from paying the GST registration or filing the thing. And Kaushik Naskar also followed up to say proprietary type of business as well. So anything, whether it's a proprietorship, it's a company, whether you're MSME or not, you're individual, if you have taxable services, you will have to, get yourself registered and file returns. So we'll go up to the next thing. There's a concept of merchant exporters under GST, wherein I am not supplying the goods. I mean, if I'm an exporter, I might not be in the position to take all the export compliances and everything, and I'll have merchant exporters doing that for me. So in that way, will I be able to claim my ITC benefit if I'm transferring my goods to or selling my goods to the merchant exporter? Prasanna, would you like to take up?
Yes. So in case of merchant export also, the government is giving concessional rate benefit actually, but the supplier who is supplying to the exporter can go for refund under inverted, because that reduced rate will be considered as falling under the inverted structure eligibility criteria. So that exporter can go for that merchant exporter can go for that refund application, but before refund application, he has to fulfill the conditions. In case of merchant export, there are 4 or 5 conditions is prescribed. Goods should reach directly to the port, and within 3 months that goods should be exported, and he should get the confirmation of that shipping bill through shipping bill copies. And after that only, if he's going for the refund, that will be good. He can still he can go for refund under inverted, not under the export, but under the inverted structure.
And merchant exporter cannot take LUT benefit, if I'm not wrong, right?
No, LUT benefit is not required for inverted duty structure. A merchant exporter is not going for direct export. No, so he's exporting through somebody else.
Okay, fine. There's another question from Jose saying that if he wants to know if there's any link which is between GST refund application for service exports and eligibility towards the SEIS scheme, which is service exports from India scheme. He just wants to know if there's any conflict in applying for both.
There's no conflict actually. Both are eligible. See, export or service is covered under GST law, and SEIS is covering under foreign trade policy. And there's no restriction also. So if you are claiming refund, you should not claim SEIS. Such kind of restriction is not there.
Okay.
All the criteria and all the applicabilities are all different laws covering both the topics. So absolutely no linkage, no conflict.
Oh, thank you, Nathan Prasanna. There's another question. What is the due date for refund for SEZ supplies? So the department has stated that SEZ sales are not exports for GST purpose, but only zero rated, and hence the residual date is applicable. So, Meet, would you like to take up this?
I did not get the last part of it.
Yeah, it says the department has stated that SEZ sales are not exports for GST purpose, but only zero rated, and hence the residual date is applicable. So the Darshan wants to know what is the due date for refund for SEZ supplies.
So as we have already discussed it, I think it's 2 years from the date of relevant export. So the day on which you have exported to SEZ, deemed exported to SEZ, is the date on which before that, 2 years before that, you have to file this before the expiry of 2 years.
And
there is one correction is actually, so to the whoever has asked question, The SEZ supplies also is export.
Zero.
It's not export, but it's falling under zero rated. Zero rated turnover definition covers both export and supplies to SEZ units and SEZ developers. So zero rated definition is different and the export definition is different. But refund, when you go for a refund, the criteria for refund is actually zero rated turnover, and broad category is actually zero rated turnover. Refund under zero for zero rated turnover only. So still they will fall under that category only.
And many circulars and notification have mentioned deemed exports interchangeably with SEZ supplies. So no need to worry about that. It is zero rated.
Thank you. Vinayak Kushma has asked us, does GSTR 1 filed in 1920 and also liability paid of GSTR 3B, but after that bad debts happen, so can we claim ITC of the same?
Prasanna, you want to take this up?
Can you repeat the question?
GSTR 1 has been filed in 1920 and also liability.
For which period they have filed in 1920? Question is not complete. So for which period they have filed GSTR 1?
Okay.
So let's take an example, Prasanna, here. Maybe 1920, I have filed my 3B and 1. Now the party has defaulted in the payment. What should I do?
Defaulted in the payment. This is about that ITC related to a reconciliation.
Yes.
No,
it's bad debts.
Bad debts cannot take any. You cannot claim any benefit for the bad debts. Once supply is completed, you have to pay tax. There's no benefit available for bad debts.
Yes. So
if supply is not completed, then you can go for refund. If supply is completed,
wrong payment of tax. I think that's what you're pointing out.
Yes.
Okay. Dheeraj has asked us another question. While considering the refund under invert tax structure, whether we have to consider GSTR 2A or 2B data, and can you please explain refund calculations with example? So, Meet, would you like to take up this?
Okay. So till I think 2020, 2A was the concept which was already initiated and known to us. Now then 2B has been introduced. Eligible ITC has to be checked from the law perspective. If 2B applicability dates are applicable to your period, then you have to check 2B. If 2A is the applicable period, so 2A applicability has to be checked. Your reconciliation has to be checked purely on the basis of the rules and regulations applicable to your refund period. And for an example with, refund calculation with example. Okay. For an inverted, let's take an example, 100 rupees sale under inverted duty, 200 rupees sale under normal laws. Your eligible part becomes 100 divided by 300 into your eligible ITC. Eligible ITC will include only inputs, no input service and no capital goods for that specific period.
Yeah. So, Dheeraj, I think that will answer your question. We'll go up to our next, discussion which we wanted to have on. So, what about in cases like if I'm an exporter of services without payment of tax and I have claimed refund of ITC, that is, I have a LUT and I claim the ITC benefit. So, but my payment terms is say probably after a year. So after 1 year, if my customer has rejected some quantity and it has paid only for the balance, so what is that consequences in the situation? What is going to be that way? So Prasanna, would you like to answer this?
Yeah. In case of export of goods, you can claim refund as soon as you complete the export. So based on the shipping bill, you can go for the refund. But there is a clear-cut restriction. If you don't receive within 1 year from the date of export, that consideration in convertible foreign currency, then you have to pay back the refund claimed already with the interest. And subsequently, if you are realizing in subsequently, then again you will get back. But in this case, actually, we are not getting only that part is rejected. We will not get that part amount. To that extent, I have to repay back my refund amount, because my eligibility will be only to the extent of amount received.
How will you be treated in the GSTR 3B this way, Prasanna?
No, GSTR 3B or GSTR 1A is considered only at the time of filing refund application, and refund will be processed. You will get it immediately.
Okay.
But this time restriction, the timeline is as whatever is prescribed under RBI Master Circulars or FEMA Act. So within that period, you have to realize that amount. Example, if you are exporting in April 2021, so if RBI says you have to realize that in 9 months, so you should have realized that before December 2021. And for April to June, you have already claimed refund in the month of September. You have got it already.
Yes.
So, and till December, you have time period to collect that money. If you don't collect before December 2021, then in January, you have to pay back that amount. That refund, whatever you have received, so you have to pay back to the department. Government.
And this is supplemented by the declarations and the undertakings that we take in Rule 89 and Section 54, where we have to declare before the department that I will recover this money within the timelines set by RBI and FEMA rules. So that's why one needs to make the payments, or else there will be a willful offense that they are trying to attract here. Certain penalties and implications may be attracted also.
Okay. Okay. Now we'll just have a discussion on what until now in your experience, Prasanna and Meet, whatever you have had for refund of applications. There might be a lot of practical challenges which you might have encountered, while you're processing the refund, while you are submitting the refund applications, or there might be cases wherein, it is said in online, but of course we are in India and nothing happens online very easily. So, we might have to go to the offline procedures. So, Prasanna, would you, mention anything like, what is your, take on any practical challenges which you have, faced?
Yeah, there will be many practical challenges, sir. The mainly actually, see, government says everything is online and portal also designed, but my biggest problem actually at the time of filing refund application itself, file size they have given, you have to attach some documents, and they have restricted some file size actually. Only 5 MB can be attached, that too in PDF. But if there are bulk transactions like 100, 200 shipping bill in case of exports, and if you want to upload all the shipping bills, that clarity will not be there. And each shipping bill itself will come to 2 to 3 MB actually. In that case, actually, we are struggling actually. In that case, our shipping bill copy, if you download, you cannot read anything on that. So it will be like that. So in that case, actually, after uploading, again, department officer is calling, sir, what is this? We are not able to read anything. Submit hard copies. Then again, one more full set hard copies we are submitting, and we have to follow. And 2A reconciliation and explanation also will be challenging actually. That also will be a big problem. And one more situation is actually you have to take credit only after invoice is appearing in 2A, and you must have received goods and services. In some cases, what happens actually, I might have my 2A might have been showing in December, but my refund application will be for January. And I would have taken credit in January only because I am receiving goods in January, but my supplier has uploaded in December itself that invoice. You got it?
Yeah, definitely.
2A is showing invoice in December.
Yes,
My refund application is in January. And department will not accept only sometimes. And again, I have to explain from the provision, sir, section 6.
Section says this way. Yeah.
So all this problem is coming actually still. And sometimes 2A will be showing different figure to us. Department, if they check, for them it will be showing different figure.
Yeah.
Like this, lot of challenges are there still. So in my experience, Meet, you can add whatever you have faced.
I think, sir, you have covered everything properly. But apart from this, even after following up, the officer will be taking its own sweet time. They do not have any idea about the timelines of granting the refund. Even if you go with the law book, they are not very careful about the same. So the timelines also, along with the documentations, are very critical part of GST refund application, where you have to be very thorough with both of the things when you are going with your GST refund application offline to the officer to push up or to follow up them.
Yes, definitely. So,
and in case of service export, there's one more in few officers actually, not all. Some officers will be cross-checking with the GSTR 1 and 3B, but service
line
export,
by line.
Yeah, you can claim service in case of service export. You can claim after realizing only. But I would have declared that invoice in April month. I am realizing money in June month. I will be filing that amount under June month refund. But they will ask, oh, sir, your expo invoice is not appearing in GST 1 of June month. It is in April. You are not eligible. So
Absolutely.
explaining all this is
a task in itself.
Very tough. Very tough. Also, whenever you go for a service-related export, they generally reject it by saying that this is, in our term, is not an export. This is an intermediary service.
yeah.
For us, this says that there is a levy under CGST, SGST Act, or IGST Act as per their understanding. So, too much of litigations or too much of question answers based on the applicability of export or no. In inverted duties, we have seen most of the times we are fighting with the officer for the circular, whether the circular is applicable to us or no. So very strict reading of benefits has to be done by any user or any person or a taxpayer who's going for a refund. They need to be very thorough with the concept of the refund, and they need to be very thorough with the paperwork. So generally, we what we do is that a good practice is to give a covering letter along with all the explanation and the documentation, the declarations, the undertakings, the statements properly as per the law, and then we wait and we pray that the officer passes our refund application smoothly and on a faster way.
Definitely. But does prayers work?
Prayers don't work, but follow-up works.
Absolutely. Okay. We have a question from Pratik saying, can we claim refund for zero rated supply and inverted duty if we pay both exports and domestic? Zero rated supply is for exports, but Meet, would you like to just mention this?
Okay, Pratik, so you're making two types of supplies and two applications for the same month. That's why, what is your question? It seems to me. Yes. So yes, you can apply under two different categories for the same month. For both, you have to check whether the eligible ITC still remains with you. Post you apply for example, let's take for an example, you go for an export refund first and then you go for an inverted duty. You need to check whether your ITC balance and your ITC eligible for that month for refund remains intact after claiming the first refund and going for the second one, or both going parallelly.
Okay. I hope, Pratik, that answers your question. Is there any other questions the audience would like to pose us at this moment? About any final questions, any thoughts, Prasanna, Meet, your everything. By the time, in case we just give the audience some time that they can.
Prasanna, what are your thoughts on advance authorization topic? Where, can we go for refund when you have advance authorization from department?
See, the advance authorization, there are two things. One is actually with payment, if you are taking advance authorization and going for with payment of tax option, and advance authorization and going without payment of export. For both the situation, law is different. If you are going for without payment of tax, and if you are taking
just interrupting you, can you explain briefly what is advance authorization to our audience?
Okay, I'll explain. See, advance authorization is a benefit issued under foreign trade policy. This advance authorization normally is issued to the exporter so that they can import raw materials without payment of customs duty and IGST on import. And even now that is applicable for local supplies also. So if you are taking advance authorization from a DGFT office, so you can purchase raw material without paying any tax. Even GST also you need not pay to your suppliers. And if you are importing also, you need not pay IGST on imports. So that is the benefit given, and there will be certain criteria actually. You have to export the final product, and you should realize minimum. There will be minimum value addition on the export. I think 15% value addition is the minimum. So, and that much value addition should be there when you're exporting final product, and there is a time limit also. So after taking advance authorization within 18 months, you have to export. This is the guidelines. Now, in case of GST refund, if you are taking advance authorization, you are not paying tax to your suppliers. So if you are not paying tax to your suppliers on your purchases, so when you are going for export, so if you are exporting without payment of tax, there is no question of claiming refund because you are not paying tax. So that's why that rule 89 4A is clear actually. So apart from that, if you're purchasing from other suppliers also, where you're paying tax, so that much amount will be eligible for refund in case of without export, without payment of tax. But if you're going for with payment of tax, rule 9610 clearly bars that, actually put restriction. You cannot claim refund only in that case. That is something I feel actually it's not correct, because law is treating each case is different. In one case they are giving refund, in another case they are not giving refund. So let us just give example of with payment of export, with payment of tax export. If you do, what happens actually? If you are purchasing without payment of tax from your supplier, and when you are exporting, you will be paying tax. That means your exports are suffering tax. So that tax should be refunded. So the main intention of the export removing the tax on exports is to avoid exporting the tax, to avoid the tax on export of goods. But in this case, actually, that transaction is suffering the tax. So that can be challenged. Actually, in my opinion, there are some cases already in High Court. Because if you are purchasing without this advance authorization, what happens actually? You will be paying it to your suppliers. When you are exporting, you will utilize that ITC and you will make the payment. And after exporting, you will get back the refund. Tax is nullified. But if you are going for advance authorization and refund, so you will not get the refund, and final transaction will be suffering the tax. So that is the department is actually in Bangalore. They have started to recover this kind of refund actually. But that can be challenged in my opinion.
Defeats the purpose of an exporter.
Yes.
Who is obtaining such licenses.
Yes.
Okay.
Rightly pointed out.
Okay, so I don't see any questions coming from the audience. So thank you, Prasanna, Meet, for your time and for your knowledge. So I guess that the audience and all of us here, we know better more about GST refunds, and it's a process where all of us are learning. And thank you, audience, also for being kind and patient enough throughout this. I hope all your queries must have got solved. We always have these webinars regularly. This is something we've come up with, called as Real Time with Experts. So we'll be coming with our next session also very soon. So I request all the audience to also be part of all our webinars regularly, so that we'll be able to impart knowledge and also gain knowledge as well. Yeah. So thank you so much, Prasanna and me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, mate.
Thank you.
Thank you.